All right, folks, so continuing on with the bedroom, we're working on the final piece that we need to construct. We're making the bed frame, the so-called HEMNES Bedframe. So we're going to work our way bot to top, so to speak, working with the footboard first, and then we'll make the headboard. We're actually going to use our footboard and just tweak it to make our headboard because they're actually very similar. So looking at our footboard, we have two legs for supports. There are these two horizontal pieces going across and a middle vertical connector there. And then there's this plank of wood in the middle of all of this. So if we look at the feet, or the legs rather, I guess I should say, the legs on this, the boards going horizontally are slightly thinner than the legs on this. And I would point out that this is not square, but rather slightly rectangular. So let's start by making one of the feet, or the legs rather. And so on our newly made cube, I'm just going to move it off the grid. And I'm going to change my subdivisions width and subdivisions depth to 2. Really, the only outcome is that now I have midpoints on every side of my object. And now I just make it tall. Just scale it up. And that's a little too tall. That seems right. And then, like I said, it's a rectangle. So I'm just going to scale this to be a little thinner in this direction. And there we have it. And so this is directly in hovering over the origin, which is fine. So we'll just leave it that way. Now I will grab, well, let me refresh my memory here. Yeah, let's grab a new cube here. And this time I'm going to do all 3 of these with height and depth to 2. Do I need this horizontally? No. I think I overshot it. I think I still just need these 2. Set to 2. Okay. So we'll scale this in, make it a little thinner. Not too much. A little thinner than this leg is. And then I will make this pretty long. All right. And then this piece here should connect on the inside of this leg here. And just check. I'm going to make this a little thinner. Okay, cool. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift this up. I'm going to take my leg here, move this over here, set my pivot point to the middle inside vertex at the top, snap this onto the middle edge on this, or vertex rather, and now these are connected, more or less. Cool. Can already see proportion-wise this ain't gonna work. So I'm gonna scale this. My leg's too tall here. Okay, cool. So I just made my leg a little shorter. Okay, so looking back at this, oh, I need to make this significantly longer, which is fine. I'm just gonna make this longer, and again, I will just snap this back to where it was, the middle of this. Okay. Okay, there we go. That looks a lot better. So for this one, I don't need to worry about getting it snapped to any particular point. I'm just going to eyeball this. And what we can tell from this is it about goes to, if we look at this, the bottom of this bottom board is about 2/3 of the way down. Nah, maybe more about like 3/4 of the way down the leg. So I'm going to just, again, I had duplicated this, and I'm just moving the duplicate, eyeballing it until it's about 3/4 of the way down. I honestly think now it's way too wide, to be honest with you. I'm going to just grab both of these, scale them in slightly. Now I'll just re-snap this to the right spot, and we're good. Basically just get this right. Okay. Now I have my top board, bottom board, leg. I'm going to go ahead and make one of these be this board here. So I'm going to duplicate this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this in. And I'm going to move this whole object down, because what I'm going to do is I can just grab the 4 faces on top here, and I will snap them, the center of these, onto this, the center middle of this, and do the opposite this direction. It's much easier for you to see what's going on, by the way, if I, hold on. I'm going to turn on my wireframe on shaded so you can see exactly what's going on. So now I'm just going to snap these to that point there in the middle. And now this object fits perfectly in there. I'm just going to modify the center pivot, fix that. Okay. So far, so good. Now I'm just going to take this leg here, duplicate it, bring it all the way over here, change my pivot point to the inside center, and snap this onto the middle of that. And now what I'm going to do for this board that fills in this space here in the middle here, so these big 2 panels here, start by taking my top and duplicate this, and I'm going to lift it above everything. And I'm going to do a couple things. First, I'm going to start with scale and just make it a little thinner than it was before, because it needs to be thinner than all of these boards here. Then I'm going to move my pivot point to the top center of this. And I'm just going to move it down so that it is inside, or the top of it, I should say, is inside the other board, right? Let me scale this, make it a little thinner. And then because I put the pivot point at the very top, when I scale this up, it's scaling away from the top center. And so I can just scale this until the other side ends up inside the bottom board. Then we're left with this. So I'm going to turn off wireframe on shaded so that I can zoom out and show you what that looks like with shading. And so I would just say I'm going to go back into object mode. I'm going to make this a little thinner so that we can see more clearly the thickness on these things. So again, just a bunch of cubes. Just a bunch of cubes, snapped to things, scaled about, made into rectangles. So now we just need to put the top flat part on this. So I'm going to go ahead, duplicate this same top board, bring it right up here, scale tool. I'm going to first scale it in thickness this way. It seems good. Scale it vertically. Get the right thickness on this. And then I'll go into my front view. Just make my life easy. Scale this out so it's a little bigger. And there we go. So now we have our footboard made. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, sorry about that. So here we go. We have the bottom done, or the footboard done, I should say. Now, for our headboard, it's really just a modified version of this. So if you look at this, the legs are the same size. We got this little panel section here, which I don't know if they show it better in the other pictures. Yeah, but so see, the footboard is a little shorter than the start of this area. In fact, I'd say it's like the width of this board. Anyway, so going back to the main one here, we have, so this paneled section, we're going to have a bottom, a middle board, and a top board. And then instead of just one of these middle dividers, in this section we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these middle dividers here. So, all right, so going back to Maya, so we're going to take what we've already made. I'm going to select all of my objects, duplicate them, and I shouldn't have any issues just moving them back. I do not. Let me go into my side view. I'm just going to like vaguely judge the distance. Again, it's not going to be anything perfect. Sure. Yeah, that looks like an appropriate distance. Oh, not, maybe not. Sure. Okay, that seems good. So, as I said, the bottom is mostly like our board. You'll just notice that this doesn't have, this has the single one down here. There is no support or stanchion, whatever you want to call it. There's no thing down here. They're all up here. So, but I need to take my top of my footboard, or my duplicated footboard, I should say now, my headboard, these two top boards, and move them up, as well as my middle slat here. So I am going to take these three objects, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to duplicate them and bring them up here. Like I said, it's slightly taller than the footboard, or the bottom of the open air area, so it's a little taller than the footboard. So, and I'm just sort of eyeballing it about an extra distance of one of these. So that looks about good. So I don't need this extra topper, and I don't need this extra support down here. So now I just have this object and this one. Now for this object, for the board running across my middle board, I'm just going to move the pivot point to the top center. And to make my life easier for you folks to see, let me turn on my wireframe on shaded. And then this bad boy, I'm just going to snap directly above it, the middle center of this. Boom. Now for this, I can essentially do much the same as I did before. I'll just move this up, scale this until the bottom again goes inside the bottom board, and we're good. And then finally, for the legs, because I don't want to guess the distance to the ground, I am just going to take the faces on this and move these faces to touch where they need to up here. And so again, set my pivot point to the corner, or not the corner, the inside middle inside middle. And we're going to hold V. Snap them up here. Make sure you get to the right one. I do. Okay, so that looks good. Come over here. We're going to do the same process. Grab these faces here. Whoopsie. These 4 faces. Again, pivot point to the inside middle. Make sure it snaps to the right vertex. It is not. It is not. There we go. Perfect. And there's that. So we're already mostly done with this. Boom. Now here's the tricky part. We need to get these 9 evenly spaced stanchions, slats, whatever you want to use, into this headboard. Now, we already have one in the middle, so we need to add 4 evenly spaced slats on either side of it. And I would also point out that we have about, I would say, a 1/6 on this side and a 1/6 on this side for about a 1/3 of this total space being left open, and then the rest is filled with the evenly spaced slats. So how we can account for this? As I said, this is about a 1/6. This is about a 1/6. If I go back here and I have already cut an edge loop in the middle, if I then, under Insert Edge Loop Tool, you reset this, I want multiple edge loops set to 2. And what will happen is I'll split these in. And now this is divided into 1/6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I am just trying to use this to create edges that I know are at the exact boundary for the outer 1/6, so to speak. So I'm going to move to my select tool and just switch into edge mode, double click the middlemost of the 2 edges that I just inserted, and just straight up get rid of them. Delete edge and vertex. Please make sure you're using this when appropriate. So now we have this middle 4/6, 2/3 of this space, and we have 1, 2, and 3 edges. Now we just need to add another 6, so to speak. So we have edges to snap things to. So edge loop again. This time I want equal multiplier set to 3. Boom. Boom. Whoops. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Reset my tool and then close it. And now in object mode, I can grab this, duplicate it, and the easy way is to just move this pivot point to the bottom middle, snap that there, duplicate, hold V as in vertex, snap it, duplicate, snap it, duplicate, snap it, duplicate and snap, duplicate and snap, duplicate and snap, duplicate and snap. Boom, 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 boom. All done. And there's your headboard and your footboard. For the next part, we don't need to be particularly scientific. We need to connect these 2 together. So I'm just going to make myself a new square, or new cube rather, flatten it into a board-like shape. Okay, this needs to be taller as well. Okay, and then in my side view, X-ray, I'm just going to lift this up until it about lines up with the bottom of, where the headboard and the footboard start. So it's about there. It is obviously way too long. I'm just going to switch into face mode, grab this face here, go back into my side view, and bring it so that it's inside this object too. So now both sides of it end inside the object. Now I just need to go into my, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to be scientific with this, like I said. Just try and line it up basically with the middle of this. You'll still have the edges to eyeball it. That looks good. Duplicate it again. It's totally fine to eyeball this. Again, try and get it in the middle of these two legs. I can do a little better. I also think we can do slightly better. There we go. Lovely. And then the final work. Duplicate this, and you just need 3 boards, if you wouldn't mind. Oops, so this is going back to 0. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yep, and then rotate this. Why is it? Please stop. There we go. 90. Bingo. Now, one problem with this, my pivot point is off. Little modify center pivot to reset that. Boom. Boom. Frankly, it's built around the origin at this point, so I'm just going to snap the middle to the origin. Okay, cool. Now when I scale this, it will scale neatly towards the middle. I just need to make sure this board terminates inside the other board. And I can't see it sticking out. Great. And then if you could just add at least 3 of these supports in here. I'm going to try and make sure they're evenly as spaced as I can. And there you have it. 1 completed HEMNES Bedframe. Just as you ordered. Now, I am going to just leave this little bit in the video, but when you are all done with your bedroom project, you will get a couple of different things, a mattress, an iMac, and the bedroom itself. So I'm just going to throw so you can see here what the mattress looks like, because it's very nice. Here it is. And then if your proportions are slightly different or whatever, you can scale the bed to fit. However, damn, I got that really good. Holy moly, my proportions are so cracked. Okay, and so that's what it will look like. Here, let me turn off wireframe. Lovely. Comfy. All right.